I'm angry because prosecutors at the Justice Department don't know the difference between friendship and corruption and have chosen to twist my duties as a senator and my friendship into something that is improper. They are dead wrong, and I am confident that they will be proven so.
Well, he's certainly fired up. That was Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey at a press conference shortly after a federal grand jury indicted him of corruption charges. Earlier this week, he entered a not guilty plea to 14 charges of corruption. So, was he helping a friend, or, as the Justice Department alleges, was he trading influence for lavish vacations and other perks that were offered by a Florida doctor? Joining us now, Robert Driscoll, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General. When you look at this case, it certainly doesn't sound good. Vacations, private jet flights, those kinds of things. On the other side, clearly the senator helped this donor, but that doesn't necessarily make it illegal, right?
No, I mean, I think the difficulty for the department, and things certainly do look bad for Senator Menendez, but the difficulty is proving that these actions, official actions, were taken because of the gifts and weren't just actions that would have been taken anyway. I mean, for example, giving a constituent or a donor help with a visa is something I would suspect that almost every Senate office has done. Similarly, calling the State Department and asking the Dominican Republic to enforce a contract is something I think a lot of Senate offices have done. Now, of course, if you do that because you got money or gifts or travel, then you would have a problem. But proving that connection, particularly if, as appears to be the case, this donor and Senator Menendez were long-term friends anyway, proving that quid pro quo could be tough for the department.
And when you talk about them trying to prove quid pro quos and things, the Justice Department has not had a, shall we say, exemplary batting average when it comes after these political corruption cases. That you bring up thoughts, you hark back thoughts to Ted Stevens, senator from Alaska, and also John Edwards, both cases that in large part seem to fall apart.
Right. Well, I think that because of that, I would think that they're going to try to have this case as locked down as they can. I would note that more recently they were successful in their prosecution of Governor McDonnell in Virginia, which was a similar official acts in exchange for gifts type of case. And so they probably learned a lot from that as well. But again, I think that the history here is a tough one, and I think that particularly where Senator Menendez has excellent counsel, which he does, it's not correct to just look at the facts and say, wow, this is a slam dunk for the government.
That's the justice side of the equation. Now we'll talk about the political side of this case. Senator Menendez, an outspoken critic of the president, not only about Cuba, but also very outspoken when it comes to the issue of Iran. Sponsored Kirk Menendez, those kinds of things. He has now had to step down from the Foreign Relations Committee. That's number one. And you got to think about the timing here, Bob. It came out literally as the negotiations were just wrapping up in Switzerland. And the senator says that this was a political motive to silence me, especially based on the timing. You have to at least think about that, don't you?
Well, certainly, if I were his defense lawyer, I'd use that timing to my advantage and point and suggest that things were political. I'm not sure if, in fact, it was. I mean, I think generally the public integrity section, acts, I think, without political considerations and should act that way. But certainly the timing here leaves the question open, and good counsel will raise that and try to point out that, look, this is happening right on the verge of the Iran deal, right after the Cuba situation where Menendez was also a critic, and that to portray this as punishment. I mean, particularly where some of the counts are things that I think lots of Senate offices have engaged in, it could be made to look selective, and I'm sure that's what his counsel will try to do.
In a sense, as you look at this, does that stand up to the smell test? You've worked at the Justice Department. Is it possible to have politically motivated investigations there, or is that something that it's better to believe in incompetence than conspiracy, or conspiracy more over incompetence?
I would highly doubt that there's a directive to go ahead and indict Senator Menendez on a particular day. I don't think that's the way things operate. Is it possible that someone thinks that the timing will, make their boss happy? That's always possible. But I would be really reluctant to believe that someone would be so brazen as to just direct that Senator Menendez be indicted, on the eve of the Iran deal for that reason. But again, people take their cues from the top, and sometimes you think, well, the boss will be happy with this outcome, and the timing would work for my boss, so I'll do it without being told. And that's always a possibility. Well,
from the administration's point of view, it would be hard to have better timing and when you're going against a very tough critic. Robert Driscoll, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General, we appreciate your time, sir. Insight as well on this case over the past couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.